Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Tom Garber from Emery Allen. You know what was weird, Greg? I'd never heard of that company before, but they make all kinds of odd-shaped and weirdly designed, not weirdly shaped, but rarer types of miniature LEDs.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him either until he emailed us regarding the podcast saying,
sure.
Don't be scared of miniatures. He told us that in the email. And we said, well, let's get on and talk about why we shouldn't be scared of them, because we referenced it in a previous podcast.
You know, I still think there's a ton of miniatures out there that aren't addressed. And, you know, you were starting to see people chip away at the outsides of the lighting business. Yeah, the T8 tubes are far advanced and, you know, par lamps and fixtures and all that. But there's a lot of, you know, lasers and all that sort of stuff on the outside. How are we going to handle that? It's going to be interesting in the next 10 years to see how, because people aren't going to put up with a 5-watt miniature anymore. They're going to want that out of there. They're going to want that in milliwatts. So, yeah. So, Tom Garber, we had a discussion about miniatures. This episode of the show is brought to you by Aeon LED Lighting. That's AEON LED Lighting.com, baby. Aeon LED Lighting.com.
Similar to, you know, the miniature market where you need a custom applications, they come out with a sports-related fixture. That's what Aeon LED Lighting is. If you're lighting up a football field, baseball stadium, any sports center, they have the right fixture for you. They have field-changeable lenses, modules, and drivers, which is needed in that application for sure. Integrated, easy-to-use, quick connect and disconnect system. It's reducing highest cost component for maintenance and labor. It's adjustable in 15-degree increments from 0 to 90, and it can tilt to 270 degrees. And there's scalable LED modules in NEMA 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 beam spreads. Boom. So they cover everything you need to get the light where you need it in a sports application. Check out Aeon LED Lighting.
You know, I think that's such an open market right now. I drive around, I see sports fields. They're either done badly with LED or they're not done at all. And like we talked about on the show, I think there's a lot of room to add connected lighting into a space like that where there's real, and you know, not even to do with energy savings. It has nothing. It has to do with the usability of the lighting system and how it can be deployed in different scene settings. And I think especially in the municipal size ones, which is what we're going to be able to get after a little bit. I mean, you're going to do the ACC or whatever like that. It's going to be tough, but this is a good move by AeonLEDlighting.com. Of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, friends. Check us out at nailg.org. But for right now, Tom Garber talking miniature LED lights. Come on, man. Bunch of lighting dorks. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, Tom.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
And say hi to Greg Ehrich.
Hey, Greg.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for being here.
Everybody loves that intro because, you know, sorry, listeners, we've already spoken. It's not the first time we've spoken. We've been back and forth for about 5 minutes. But anyway, Tom, you know, why do miniatures matter?
Oh, man. You know, the designers like to design lighting fixtures around small pieces of glass, thick pieces of glass, and all of that. You'd be surprised the amount of G9s and G4s that we go through on a monthly basis, just on old legacy fixtures and on brand new fixtures that the different lighting manufacturers are coming out with.
And
so you started.
Go ahead.
You started it. When did you start this business, Tom?
Oh, been about 5.5 years or so.
Were you in lighting before that?
Yeah, actually, I've been in the lighting industry for about 30 years. I started off at Kichler, designed all of their landscape lighting product for them. So I have a pretty good working knowledge of all the 12-volt stuff. Did some things with them with under cabinet lighting. Went over to Quoizel in Charleston, South Carolina, and was their director of engineering for 15 years. And one of our biggest frustrations is when the designers came up with, these ornate fixtures and whatnot. There was never a good solution for the G4s and the G9s and all of that. So when we put this thing together, we made sure that the products met the needs of the North American market. We met all of Lutron certifications. All of our bulbs are certified on Lutron's dimmers, forward and reverse phase. And it's just not on their like 153 series. This is, all of their series across the board. And, that was real important because dimmability with LEDs, has always been a problem. And even getting more so with getting into the miniatures because, there's not a lot of room to put electrical components and stuff like that, to get things to be compatible with this, this dimmer or that dimmer. But, we were able to put some things together with our crackshot engineers so that, our products not only are all Lutron, but ETC, Crestron, Marlin, compatible with Legrand, and a lot of the other dimmer manufacturers. And once you get the things that work on both forward phase and reverse phase, you've pretty much got it licked.
Sounds like you're doing it right, but what moment was it that it hit you that you needed to do this? Was there a defining moment, or was it just over time?
It was over time, probably for over 20 years, we saw that there was a real need for, a good quality miniature lamp. And even today, nobody's really doing it or doing it well. It's amazing that these miniatures, how much work really goes into them. All the specifics of the phone calls, application issues between 12 volts and inrush current and everything that you've got to deal with.
So are you guys designing these miniature bulbs and then outsourcing the manufacturing, or do you manufacture them as well?
No, we outsourced the manufacturing probably about 7 years ago or so. I met my now partner over in China, and they had the bones within their manufacturing and all of that. And I asked them if they ever dealt with, the states or National Electric Code, UL codes or anything like that. And they said they didn't. They were, kind of afraid of that and all. And this is what a coincidence. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years or so. So we put this whole thing together, and they're pretty much doing this exclusively for us.
Now, the whole reason for this podcast and where it came from was an email you sent to us regarding something we said in one of our podcasts about running away from decorative fixtures and those mini pin-based and things. And your email made sense, and you said you should go after them. So do you feel that that's a realistic market that people in the lighting industry should try to convert these decorative fixtures to LED at this point?
It's amazing the amount of requests that we get, not only from casinos out in Vegas, theme parks, because this stuff is out there. I mean, people are still changing, the 921 wedge base bulbs. They're still.
It's weird, all the three-digit codes and all that only lighting dorks would know. I know exactly what a 921 is.
Yeah, and that people are using in step lights or landscape lights in theaters or whatnot. And we do a killer business in Vegas and some of the other casinos. We're into the theme parks like Disney, both in Florida and in California. So yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people don't want to remove fixtures. Sometimes the fixture is part of the architecture, part of the decoration. So, and that's particularly true in the world of miniatures. That's where, a lot of people will have a chandelier that the chandelier is $40,000. and remind the stupid bulbs that they don't care about the energy unless they can go LED. Or you like that's where the casinos are. You walk into a casino in Vegas, people are walking under these $40,000 chandeliers sometimes. They don't even realize it. And a lot of so in the miniature market, Greg and I are traditionally we're the fluorescent tubes, we're the halides. That's what I'm always thinking. And do you have a full line of miniature-based LED products that work when you plug them in?
Full line.
Like, do you have a 921 replacement?
921, yes, it's we call it RT5. We offer it in 1.5 and 2.5 watts. That's good up to the equivalent of a 20-watt incandescent.
Like, what about all those BA15D based LED bulbs out there that go in like indicator lights and all that sort of stuff? Do you guys have LED replacements for all that stuff, or is it just
the BA15S? The BA15S is a single contact, and we have that. We have a BA15D, which is 120 volts. It's fully dimmable. It works real well with a lot of the commercial wall sconces that are out there. And even some of the portable lamps that were made by a company called Holt Cutter in the past, it still dims real well. And, we max out, like on the BA15D with a 5-watt, which is about 550 lumens. Everything that we produce is at about 100 lumens per watt.
And that was going to be one of the questions. I have some of your bulbs here, and we'll be able to show them on YouTube. You can see kind of some differences here. But you see how many different little LED chips there are on them. Does each one of these chips, do you know what lumens they provide? Can you measure it that way? In terms of, I don't know how many chips there are on this one, but there's a lot.
Depending on which one it is, there's between 54 and 72 chips. And, basically the way that we would measure that is we put it in our integrated sphere and, see what the lumen intensity is. But the nice thing about what we've done is, we've come up with a couple of different packages, electronic packages. So let's just say on the 12-volt side, our 4-watt and our 5-watt, we've designed so that it's flexible enough to be used in a BA15D, a G4, a GY6.35, all the different base configurations. All you do is change out the ceramic part. So that makes it pretty easy. But right now, I think we've got 8 or 9 different base configurations, base styles. We've got over 153 SKUs available in 2,700, 3,000, 4,000. When we do a lot of custom work for people. All the crazy stuff we'll get is, they want this in 277, but they want it in 1,800 Kelvin and all that. And since we are basically the manufacturer, we can usually knock that out for them in 2 to 3 weeks.
1,800 Kelvin, huh? What kind of bulb was that, and what was the application?
Actually, it was for Las Vegas, and I'm not sure what the actual application was. In many of the cases with Vegas, they don't get into a lot of the different particulars. They just say, what it needs to be, and they're good with it.
So in terms of the driver that goes into these, obviously they're very small. I mean, they can range. There's a couple different sizes that I'm showing on the screen here, but how does that work? You just have to, is it in that base? The whole driver that fires all these LEDs?
Well, if you take that apart, everything is done on a flexible board, and the drivers are actually right here. And each of the drivers are configured for the various voltages, or the wattages, or whatnot. So that's what drives these flexible boards.
What kind of hour rating can you get out of these? Or what do you offer in terms of hours on your lamps?
So when we, initially started the product line, everything was rated at 25,000 hours. We went after, I don't know how familiar you are with California's Title 24 JAA requirement, but it's something that they've been pushing for the last, I want to say at least 3 years. So it's the next level up in LED performance. You have to have a fairly high power factor of 0.9 or higher. There has to be flicker less than 30%, and it has to have. And so you've got the performance side of the JAA test requirement. Then you have the life test of that. So what they'll do is they'll put it in an environment with a certain temperature, and they will do a test measurement after every 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours, up to 6,000 hours. And then they can do a calculation, and they can figure out how long your bulbs will last based on the lumen depreciation that they got at to that 6,000 hours. So we weren't able.
That sounds like a big load of shit to me. That test. Sorry. Look, let's put the bulb in a microwave and see what happens. Oh yeah, we'll times that by 10. Yeah, it's so stupid, this stuff. It absolutely makes me sick. And I'm not that criticizing the people that are running those tests. I'm sure they're great people and they're good scientists and they're good lab workers or whatever. But like, why does you have to go like bow down before Title 24? They should kiss your ass. You're making beautiful bulbs. Who cares if they last 20,000 or 10,000 hours? I mean, if it's like let people make their choices. I hear about Title 24 is California its own country or something? Does California think it's its own country? Like we're going to set up trade barriers in between Minnesota and California. Oh, so it's easier for someone in Minnesota to buy from China than it is from California? It's like, what is that all about? That's so.
So let me tell you,
that California stuff is such a load of shit to me.
You know what? And I thought the same thing. I mean, we got to bend over backwards and do this and do that. But at the end of the day, it made us produce a lot better light bulb. I mean, at the end of the day, our bulb didn't go 25,000 hours. It went 36,000 hours. We had less than 4%
in the microwave.
In the microwave, after 6,000 hours, we had less than 4% lumen depreciation on our bulbs. We didn't have any failures. Our flicker rate was less than 0.3%. So it forced us to do a good job. And sitting back now and realizing that, well, it was great for us because nobody else has been able to meet the standard. But the biggest thing that I'd like to see come out of this is, to start knocking off or knocking out some of these manufacturers who just sell their crap on Amazon or something like that. Who's, a lot of those problems are started. A lot of those problems are started by these agencies that go out and try to tell everybody what's good and bad in the first place. If it wasn't for all these accreditation bodies slapping their name on everything, and you wouldn't see the resurgence of the dogs with fleas, because they find a way to slap that tag on it by filling out the paperwork the right way or whatever it is that they do over in, whatever country it's made in. And then it filters into the market. There's tons of Chinese garbage lights out there, like tons, man. There's absolutely, you're absolutely right.
And they have all sorts of accreditations on them and WhizzleDog this and CUL, and they threw their paper across the Pacific Ocean onto some pile in California or wherever else. And then, that we got the paper. It's written on paper. I mean, I just like all this stuff about people's in ivory towers that are trying to tell the lighting business everything that it needs to be. And it's fantastic that you guys met these criteria and all that. I think it's great. Don't take it the wrong way. But I'm really sick of, these people sitting off in ivory towers trying to tell everybody in the lighting business what we should do when they've never sold a light bulb in their life to anybody. Sorry, there's a rant for you. But.
A lot of the guys from the CEC, out in California, a lot of physicists and scientists and all of this as well. And I get your point. But I think the biggest thing that they're afraid of, honestly, is the whole thing that happened to PLs in the 70s. We came out with a PL 3, 5, and 7. They were this god awful green, color, and it just put a bad name on the PL lamps, way back when. And how long did it take for that to be overcome with CFLs? Did it take 10 years? Did it take 20 years? So they just want to make sure that the products that are coming into the state are going to last. They're going to be a consistent color, and you're not going to get all this crazy crap that they had, when the PLs came out. So anyway, I took the same stance that you did, and was kind of frustrated and all that. But at the end of the day, it forced us to produce a much better bulb than we had in the past.
So you're getting around 100 lumens per watt right now, but some LED tubes and, as we know, fixtures, they use chips, and they're getting 150 plus lumens per watt. Is there a reason you can't do that in miniature?
There's no, magic wand in this thing. I mean, the LED chips are rated at a certain temperature. All the components are rated at a certain temperature. All your tubes and stuff like that, it's all a matter of heat dissipation and all that. We've got and I don't know if I did send you an E26 9.5 watt. You see the size of that thing that produces 950 lumens.
That's a badass lamp.
It's not,
Ooh.
it's not any problem. But when you get down to the 4.5 and 5 watt, and the thing's only 2 inches tall or something like that, producing a tremendous amount of heat. Yeah, there's a big difference there. Will we ever, be able to, exceed the lumens per watt on that size? I'll never say no, but, it might be a couple of years before technology changes and all of that. I was saying, electrical components are typically 105 degrees Celsius rated. Chips are rated at maybe 140 degrees Celsius at the solder point temperature. So, some things are going to have to change in order to boost that lumens per watt thing.
What you should
When you started, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say,
Okay.
we should bring back polychlorinated biphenyls. That would do a great job for that. Just bring back PCBs. Do it up.
Absolutely.
That would solve that
done.
problem right away, wouldn't it? I mean, that's what they're
Take care
for,
of those
isn't it?
people too that you were talking about.
Yeah, it may take them out too, right? It's because what's hilarious is that we still in Ontario we still pull out drum loads of PCB ballast that are running T12s that work great. After what? When's the last time the PCB ballast was sold? So what we need is some material science to come forward with something that doesn't poison us but dissipates heat like PCBs, and then a lot of the problems with these LED fixtures would go away. I mean, we pulled out a ballast out of a mall in London that had a date stamp on it of like 1962 or something like that, and it was still running fluorescent tubes in it, or 68 or something like that. It was 60s anyway. So something to do with the heat is the problem of the deterioration of those electronic components. And putting that nice, nasty PCB cancer-causing goop all over everything solves that problem, doesn't it? So we need some material scientists to come up with some nasty goop that doesn't have that carcinogen in it or whatever, because it sounds like everywhere we turn, it's always heat that's the problem everywhere. Is it not?
It's either heat or bad voltage, right?
Or both.
Now, when you started it, what were the lumens per watt out of the miniatures that you were getting?
Probably around 86.
So it hasn't improved all that much
side.
in 5 years from the miniature side.
Go from 86 to a little over 100 lumens per watt on a real small bulb like that. That was quite an achievement.
Greg's not that impressed.
I'm looking at the other LEDs out there and advertising 150. And the whole reason for this and why I'm asking is we run into, we deal with a lot of churches and things that have the 250s and the 500 watt cords.
Yeah, they're tough.
We'll never be able to replace that with a little guy, will we?
No,
Never.
Not at all. Mm-mm.
Do you think you'll ever get to 100 watt?
It's going to be in a lot bigger envelope than it is now.
I sent
I sent you an R7S, a 10-watt R7S, and I forget
Boom.
what it's probably close to 1,000 lumens. You know, it's never going to replace that 250 watt halogen or 500 watt halogen. But honestly, does it need to? I put these on the security lights in the back of our building, and it was ample light. You know, it's not like the 250 or the 500 that just pukes out the light out the back, and you know, you have your neighbors throwing rocks at you or something like that. You know, it still gave, you know, an ample amount of light.
Yeah, sometimes you can drop the wattage on some of those. Like sometimes they're just putting 500 watt in there because that was what was there before, and that's what came in the fixture. That's
Sure.
common. You know, they're just they call up Greg at Premier Lighting and say, "I need a 500 watt Q 4-inch double-ended halogen. Got any of those?" Yeah, no problem, man. Here you go. $2 each or whatever, $4. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that. But you know, there's still a ton of miniature sockets out there. Elevator, indicator lights, all this sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about, Greggy? All those
Absolutely.
little
Yeah, for sure.
little miniatures, and I'm still shipping tons of those incandescent little miniatures. Are you guys attacking it? Like, do you guys have an Excel file with every miniature in it, and you're sorting it by some criteria from most popular to least popular, and that's you're just chipping away at those replacements, or how are you guys handling your product development?
We're just chipping away, you know, based on ABC priorities. My experience in the lighting business, knowing what sells and what doesn't. We sell to a lot of OEMs, and you know they'll come and they'll ask for certain things, and we're chipping away at it. I mean, it was last Monday we just introduced the new MR16. Well, right after that comes the GU10 version. You know, the PAR 16 version will come after that. So, you know, it's like the ABC priorities, get the first one out, you know, see how it does. And then our development process is pretty quick. You know, within about 2 or 3 months, you know, we can come out with another, you know, product without any issue, and especially if it's something that's somewhat already existing.
Let me ask you about the MR16 you just mentioned. What's special about yours? I mean, there's lots of MR16s out there, lots of GU10s, lots of PAR 16s, E26 base, whatever you want. What is yours, like 12 watt or something like that? Do you have it in spot? I mean, what is it
You
that
know, it's not about wattage. I mean, everybody keeps on talking about wattage. This wattage. It's all about lumens per watt.
Sure.
I mean, I think we've got one of the first MR16 that's over 100 lumens per watt. What's everybody else at? 70, 80 at the max. There's a lot of people that don't work or won't dim on both electronic ballasts and magnetic. Ours will do both. We've got 3, 5, and 7 watts, but we also have those in 5 different beam spreads.
Ooh, that's swanky.
You had a podcast a little bit ago, and you know you were talking about the old BABs and this bulb and that bulb, and you want something that's real dim. And I was listening to this on my back porch and just had a big grin on my face. It's like, yeah, it's coming, it's coming. So, you know,
I love to hear that you're sitting on your back porch drinking a beer, listening to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. That's so awesome.
I wasn't drinking a beer. I was smoking a cigar. Okay,
whatever. There you go.
But being in the lighting business, talking to a lot of different consumers, customers, designers, you know, we're trying to come out with a product that's good from everything from landscape lighting all the way to replacing, you know, tech lighting, you know, track heads, the MR16s that go in that can operate on all different types of control systems. And, you know, we can't be the jack of, you know, all trades with this, but, you know, we've got to hit that whole 80-20 thing. And I think that we've accomplished that with our version of the MR16.
Tom,
Nice.
Thanks for listening to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, first of all. And then thank you for coming on the show and telling us about miniatures. It was we always love, like, we've had a couple podcasts where people have been like, sent an email to one of us saying, hey, you know what? you guys are wrong about this. And just for anyone to listen out there, we're just learning. We're in the trenches here, man. We don't know it all, that's for sure. And Tom, thanks for coming and clearing that up for us.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
AeonLEDlighting.com, baby. Go to AeonLEDlighting.com. I'm not spelling that for you. If you don't know how to spell LED lighting, you're on your own, son. Greggy, AeonLEDlighting.com. Exciting products over there, man. I'm not kidding these folks.
If you're looking at a sports application, a sports field, sports stadium, this is really a good product to consider. They have a proprietary glare-free illumination, which you need. If you're playing sports and you're looking up and it's glare, that's an issue. You need glare-free, and they have that covered in their fixture. They also have wireless controls, which we talked about being a great application for a connected lighting system, is a sports application, and they have that covered. And it's designed for 4K and HD broadcasting. So you can go to the top levels of sports and you can put this fixture in and you're covered.
Yeah, I think most of the listeners to this show, I mean, there's the guys that do the major stadiums and the NFL, NBA, NCAA kind of stuff. That's going to be the architectural firms primarily, I think, and engineers and stuff like that are going to get in, and the manufacturers are going to be very direct on those jobs, and they're going to be brought in, and, largely guys like us are going to be kicked to the curb. But there's way more profitable business outside of that, dude. Like all the little stadiums everywhere, largely untouched, man. Like when I called Sign Hero when I saw it with Keystone. So good. Aeon's come up with a big one here. They're first to move, and I think it's a good idea. It's a good product. Go to AeonLEDlighting.com. That's AeonLEDlighting.com, baby. And of course, Greg, nailed, man. Always thankful to those guys for helping us get this thing going in the first place.
That's right. That's where we met, and that's how we got this thing going.
Yeah, dude. It's such a wonderful organization. If you're not a member, be a member. Come on, man. Trust me on this one. You want to join Nailed. Some special things are going to happen. And well, maybe not. Maybe we'll just keep going the way we're going. Or maybe some really special things will happen. We don't know, but we're thinking about it. Right, Greg?
That's right. It's always good to look ahead.
Yeah, Greg's got a few tricks up his sleeve, apparently. Something's going on. I don't know. Something's cooking. So come on down. You're probably going to be listening to this after the Reno convention, I'd say, Greg, when we release this one.
This is right before it.
Yeah, even if it's the day before, man, hop on a plane, come on down. If they don't let you in, ask for Michael Colligan. That's all you got to do. Just say, I'm here to see Michael Colligan. I'll get you in. Greg will get you in. No problem. Might have to pay something. I might, tell you got to pay. But if you can't get in, come on down to Reno and hang out with us. We're going to be having lots of fun down there. I think there's even a golf tournament for all you golf dorks out there.
I think there is, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not a golf dork.
No, I don't golf much. But, yeah. So we thank Nailed. We always love to have talk about Nailed. And then all of you listeners and all of our sponsors and all the people that have backed us and made us to break the top 100 in Podomatic, Greg. We haven't even talked about that on the show.
We haven't, but it was awesome. We got to keep it going now.
I don't know what it means. It's one of those things like, hey, we broke the top 100 in Podomatic. I have no idea what that means, but it means something, folks. And you guys all out there made it happen. So thank you for listening to this. And even thanks to Scott Wachter, the new producer at Get a Grip Studios here in Toronto. We thank him for all his hard work. And signing off here from Toronto and Minneapolis. This is Get a Grip on Lighting.
Written on the rectory wall, there's a sign there for all. You are lost, Lord is there to find you.